What is the legacy and accomplishments of one of the least known Skywalkers, but one of my favorite and most important? Long ago, in the shadow of a fallen galaxy, there emerged a Jedi whose name would echo both in reverence and in tragedy. The last of the Skywalkers to lead the Jedi Order, although the title of Grandmaster would die with Luke Skywalker, another Jedi from his lineage would rise above. His name was Cole Skywalker, a direct descendant from the great Luke, and heir to the most powerful bloodline in the Force. But Cole was not simply the bearer of his family's name. He was a beacon of hope, a leader whose life reflected the best virtues of the Jedi Code, a life of compassion, sacrifice, and redemption. He carried the weight of the past, the burden of the Skywalker name, yet chose to rise above its darkest moments. This is the story of his final stand, a legacy forged in wisdom and compassion. The Skywalker line was one of profound contradiction. Both born of the light and the dark, its name was spoken with awe and fear across the galaxy. For Anakin, the name had once been synonymous with betrayal, a tragic fall into darkness that scarred the galaxy for generations. And for Luke, it had become a symbol of hope, of redemption, a triumph over darkness that reignited the Jedi Order. Cole Skywalker was the inheritor of both of these legacies. In the era following Luke's passing, Cole had risen not merely as a warrior, but as a teacher, a leader of the Jedi Council who believed in peace through understanding, not through conquest. Cole championed the belief that the Jedi were not soldiers, but were great guardians of life, stewards of the Force's balance, and the cosmic unity of one. Yet, Cole was no idealist blinded by pacifism. He knew the cost of war. He had seen the scars left by the Yuzhong Vong War, where entire worlds were reduced to ruin by the invaders. It was this pain, this yearning to heal what had been broken, that led Cole to support the Ossus Project, an ambitious galaxy-spanning effort to restore life to the worlds that the Vong had devastated during the Long War. Cole Skywalker's vision was bold, it was hopeful, and for that, he would pay dearly. The betrayal and the rise of the Sith. It was through hope that Cole was deceived. The one Sith, a shadowed empire led by the resurrected Darth Krayt, watched the Jedi with patient malice. Krayt understood the power of legacy, of the Skywalker bloodline that had defined the dark side for generations, and others who had defied it for generations. And so he conspired not to destroy the Jedi with brute force, but to break their spirit. The project of Ossus was sabotaged. The very worlds that the Jedi sought to heal became grotesque testaments of suffering, twisted by Vong bioweapons and Sith manipulation. The galaxy was so eager for stability that they turned on the Jedi once more, as whispers of corruption and betrayal spread like wildfire. They blamed the grotesque creation on the Jedi Order and their grave miscalculation of the Vong. Cole had wanted to trust them, to rebuild the galaxy together. This was all true and legitimate, but the Sith had twisted it. The Empire, under the sway of Krayt's influence, called for the Jedi to be purged for this great crime. And so, the era of the Sith Imperial War began. Cole Skywalker was the last of the Jedi leaders to survive, the very heart of the Jedi Order, just as his ancestor Luke had been. In the final days of the war, Cole Skywalker stood alone at the heart of the Ossus Academy. He knew what was coming. He knew that the Sith invasion would soon occur, and that his era of the Jedi Order was now past. At last, the sanctuary of the Jedi Order was raided. Many fell, and the Galactic Alliance was crushed. The Sith had returned in force, their crimson sabers igniting the stars with bloodshed and fire, destruction. And yet, Cole Skywalker remained, unyielding in the face of evil. He refused to abandon his students, his son, his ideals. To Cole, the Jedi were not warriors, they were healers. And even in a time of war, he believed that there was no greater act of defiance than to protect the light. Cole Skywalker gathered the younglings, the Padawans, the Jedi Knights, battered by years of war, and he stood tall in flowing robes, lightsaber at his side, not a weapon of war, but as a guardian of promise. When the Sith came to Ossus, the Sith did not expect defiance. They did not expect the power of the Skywalker bloodline. The Last Stand. The attack began with fire. Darth Nihil, Krayt's executioner, led the charge, the crackle of crimson sabers echoing through the halls like a storm. Cole ignited his lightsabers, green and blue. their blades a defiant beacon against the darkness. The first wave of Sith was swift. Warriors poured into the temple like a tidal wave. But Cole was fierce. His lightsaber danced in perfect form, a legacy of the Skywalker dueling prowess passed down through generations. Cole's power was not his strength alone, it was yet in his wisdom and his compassion that he found true victory. This is what made him stronger than the Sith could have imagined. Cole was not fighting for himself, he was buying time. Time for the next generation. Time for his son. A father's sacrifice. Cade Skywalker, barely more than a Jedi Padawan, stood at the landing bay, watching as his father faced overwhelming odds. The Sith outnumbered him 20-1, and yet, Cole never faltered, not for a moment. As the battle pressed on, the truth became clear, however. This was not a fight that could be won. Cole, with every stroke of the lightsaber, knew it. But victory was not his goal. Red blades struck from all angles, and Cole fell to one knee, wounded, but still unbroken. And with his final breath, he reached into the Force, not to destroy, but to protect. Go, Cade. His voice echoed through the Force. Live. Remember. The young Skywalker fled as his father gave his last breath. A final act of redemption. Not redemption for himself, but for the sins of the Skywalker bloodline. A Jedi, giving his life to stop the invaders of the Sith. Cole Skywalker died on Ossus, not as a failed hero or as a tragic figure, but as a redeemer of his family's legacy. Cade would struggle, haunted by the weight of that sacrifice, tempted as his ancestors had been by the calls of the dark side. Yet, Cole's presence endured, a luminous being, a whisper in the Force to guide his son, not with anger, not with demand, but with hope. For Cole Skywalker was more than a Jedi. He was proof that the Skywalker name did not have an end in the darkness. He was a father, a leader, a hero who stood against the rising tide and saved the future. A light that even the Sith could never extinguish. But now let's look at his lightsaber prowess and his abilities in the Force. Cole was a master duelist, a warrior known for balance, a spiritual force within the Jedi. Cole Skywalker was a unique Jar-Kai specialist, mastering and dual-wielding combat. One of Cole Skywalker's most compelling traits as a Jedi was his mastery of Jar-Kai, the ancient lightsaber combat form specialized in dual-wielding. Wielding two lightsabers simultaneously, Cole demonstrated an extraordinary level of precision, balance, and coordination, a style rarely seen among Jedi Masters. Jar-Kai was not just a technical choice for Cole, it reflected his philosophy as a protector and as a guardian. While a single blade symbolizes defense, the dual sabers of Jar-Kai symbolized for Cole protection and action, defense and offense in perfect harmony. His style allowed him to fend off multiple enemies with fluid efficiency, a skill especially vital when defending against overwhelming numbers of Sith. Cole's dual lightsabers were not merely tools of aggression, they were expressions of control and clarity. Each blade moved not with the flourish of a duelist seeking dominance, but with measured restraint of a Jedi focused on defense and the protection of life. His use of Jar-Kai mirrored the balance that he strove for to maintain within the Force, firm yet compassionate, unyielding but never cruel. Cole is often described in the EU as inheriting the lightsaber prowess of his ancestors of Anakin and Luke. From Anakin, Cole inherited the technical skill, the combat intuition, learning how to be relentless, utterly unyielding in battle, capable of overwhelming groups of enemies. From Luke, he inherited refined mastery, the calm, measured control born from discipline and clarity. In his later years, Luke focused on defense, endurance, and disarming rather than aggression. Cole embodied this same patience, blending technical mastery with wisdom of the Jedi Code. Cole also mastered several rare abilities: battle meditation, possessing the ability to influence the morale and effectiveness of allies in battle, a rare skill often associated with Jedi Masters with a deep connection to the Force. He also used empathy, Force empathy. His connection to the living Force allowed him to sense emotions and intentions with incredible clarity, emphasizing his compassionate nature. He is the most similar Jedi to Qui-Gon Jinn that I can think of. Cole was defined by his healing, and because of this, he had no problem manifesting as a Force ghost after his death to help guide his son Cade. In many ways, Cole Skywalker is a huge part of the culmination of their legacy. In his final moments, he stood against the Sith on Ossus, embodying the very ideals that Anakin had struggled so deeply to achieve. a complete surrender to the will of the Force. Anakin and Luke both struggled with darkness, but Cole stood firm. His sacrifice was not driven by guilt or prophecy, but a simple, profound truth. The belief that one life, even a Jedi's life, was worth giving if it meant the survival of the light and the betterment of the galaxy. Even if it was the life of the last Jedi leader, one of the last Skywalkers. In that sacrifice, Cole did what no Skywalker before him had fully achieved. He achieved a pure grace, proving that the power of the Force was not in domination, but in service. Cole was not merely the last Skywalker to lead the Jedi Order, he was the very best of them. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on Cole Skywalker? One of the lesser known Skywalkers in the Star Wars EU, but still one of my favorite. The member of the Skywalker bloodline that by far is the most like Qui-Gon Jinn, which is part of what makes him so compelling. But now I turn it over to you. What do you think of Cole Skywalker? Did you know about him before this video? And how do you think he would have interacted with Qui-Gon and Anakin? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the archives today, and may the Force be with you.